Okay, that'll do. Namaste, everybody. Welcome. So let's start on hands and knees, please. Actually, no. We're going to start lying on our back. That's best. Lie on your back. Heads can face each other. Yeah. And then draw your knees into the chest. Give them a squeeze. Create space in the lower back. If you want to rock around, massage out your glutes, your lower back. Yes, please, and do. Take a breath in through your nose. Flutter your lips. Take a breath in through your nose. Open the mouth, release it out. And then breathe in and out through your nose. Go ahead and reach out. Grab for the outer blades of your feet with your hands. Happy baby. Pull the knees wide of the rib cage. And then as you pull, so you kick. So pulling and kicking helps to open the hips. It also helps to lengthen your spine until one day your tailbone touches the ground, but your lower back will not. And then go ahead and cross your right ankle in front of the left thigh, figure four style. You can move your hands around your left leg. It can be the hamstring or the shin that you interlace your fingers on and give that right leg a squeeze towards your chest. Peel the toes of the crossed leg towards the knee. That stabilizes your knee and also brings a better stretch to the outside of the hamstring. And if you want to go deeper, but find that balance between ease and effort. Don't overdo it. And then go ahead and release that. And switch your sides. You can take left over right. Figure four in the ankle. Peeling the toes towards the shin or towards the knee so that you stabilize and you bring the stretch right where we want it. And see if you can be active with your pulling. We're trying to make something happen here. So if you're ever in this pose being like, I don't get it, then just try to touch your leg onto your chest. All right, good stuff. Release that, hands behind the knees. Rock forward and back. Come on to hands and knees, build momentum, and then we can all turn around to face forward, obviously. Unless you prefer showing somebody your tail feather. Cool. Now just take a few cow cats. Inhale, drop the belly, look forward and up, pull the shoulders back away from the ears. Exhale, round into the spine, looking back towards your belly button. Inhale, drop the belly, look forward and up. Exhale, rounding back. One more time. Inhale. And then exhale. Curl your toes. Lift your hips high and back. Downward facing dog. Walk your dog out. You can sway the shoulders, sway the hips. Pedal through the legs. Press the heels. Sit with that for a moment. Switching sides, of course. Just dropping into this now moment that we are having. This chance to find connection with a deeper side of yourself that you may not be connected with, or maybe you are and it's just like visiting an old friend. So you're saying hello again. Press into the fingerprints, drive into namely the index knuckle pad, and then really try to lengthen all the way back through the waist. You might think of this pose, at least now, like you're trying to jump into a pair of skinny jeans. You really squeeze the belly in and lengthen through the lower torso, creating that beautiful space. All right, settling into your downward facing dog now. On an inhale, ripple forward to plank pose. Push away from the ground so that you feel your shoulder blades spreading apart back behind you. And then put a bend in the knees as you send your hips back into downward facing dog. Let's do that again. Inhale, ripple forward, power plank pose, not just collapsing in the joints. And then bend the knees, pull the hips back, downward facing dog. One more time. Inhale, breathing forward. And exhale, bend the knees. Cool. We will breathe forward again, but we're going to change it up now. Lower your knees down. Find a cow spine, sticking your tail feather towards the ceiling. Lower your chest right in between the thumbs for Ashtangasana. Then flip onto the tops of the feet. Peel your chest forward and up. Don't be shy about straightening through the arms. Cobra pose. Curl the toes. Press the hips back, downward facing dog. Let's repeat that 2 more times. Inhale, breathing forward, power plank. Exhale, knees down, tail feather high, chest in between the thumbs, Ashtangasana. Inhale, sliding forward and through. Maybe the arms get even longer, but the pelvis stays on the ground. And then curl the toes, hips back, down dog. One more time. Breathe forward. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, hear the breath as you ripple forward into highest cobra. And then downward facing dog. Cool, stay in downward facing dog. Just float your left leg way up high into the sky. Bend the knee, open the hip. Try to push your heart towards your standing foot. That's gonna help you drop the left shoulder down. Lift the lifted knee even higher, and then try to ground through your standing heel. On your inhale, re-lengthen through the lifted leg, toes point down. Exhale, draw the knee over to your right elbow, tap it and hold and get the weight into the fingerprints. And then sweep the leg back. Exhale, send it into the left elbow or armpit. Get the weight into the fingerprints. And then send the leg back. Step the foot in between the hands. Get toes and fingertips to align. Come on to tented fingers, runner's lunge. Breathe here. Exhale to draw back, straightening through the front leg and bowing your head in. Inhale, rebend the knee. Take that exact same pulse, straighten through your front leg, bow the head in. One more time, breathing into the runner's lunge. And then exhale, pulling back into the hamstring stretch. Take another breath just to stay. And then with your inhale, bend the front knee, step your back foot forward. Big toes can touch. Heels slightly apart, or if you would prefer to have your feet inner hips width apart, that's cool too. Hang heavy over the legs. You don't need to necessarily grab for anything, but just allow the upper body to be super duper heavy. If you want to push your palms into the mat, you can. Bend the knees if you need to. Then on your next breath in, let's all bend the knees and sweep your arms up into Utkatasana, fierce pose. Float the right ankle, figure four style, in front of your left thigh. We did this on our back. Take your time to get there, and then take your hands down to your heart. Now err on the side of sitting low in the hips and open in the heart, and maybe the elbows touch across the knee and ankle of that shin. Inhale to lift up. Send that leg to the back of the room, hands by your sides. Dip your chest down and really energize through the trailing heel. Take a breath here. Hands to the mat. If you need to bend the standing leg, you do. Let's use the stepping back to low lunge to create momentum to take us in a down dog split. So you step the right foot back and then swing the left leg high. Bend the knee, open the hip. Take a rock star if you can. If not, just keep that hip open. Rolling onto the tippy toe of that left foot, left fingertips reaching high up and over your head, feeling that body arching, stretching into the shape with the breath. Inhale, lift the left arm to the ceiling. We're going to use the momentum of putting that hand to the ground to come in a fallen triangle. That same leg shoots across the body. Straighten it out, put it on the mat, and then reach your right hand up. Try to push your heart and hips towards the ceiling. If the shoulder back's behind the standing wrist, that's awesome. Take a breath. Exhale, hand to the mat, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, ripple forward to plank pose. We'll switch gears here, lowering through Chaturanga Dandasana. Flip onto the tops of the feet. Shine your beautiful heart in your upward facing dog. Try to keep the thighs off of the mat. And then downward facing dog, hips high and back. Take a breath in through your nose. Breathe it out your mouth. On your inhale, float the right leg up. Bend the knee, open the hip. Really high on that knee. Push your heart towards your standing foot and drive the standing heel to the mat, evening out the shoulders, of course. Then inhale, lengthen through the lifted leg, toes point down. Exhale, draw the knee across to your left elbow, touch it and hold, get the weight into the fingerprints, and then sweep the leg back. Exhale, take it into your right armpit, and get that weight forward, and then sweep it back. Draw the knee into the chest, shoulders over the wrist, try to place the foot so that toes and fingertips align. Let's take our 3 pulses here, breathing in. Exhale, feels good to get off the arms for a second. Use that to your advantage. Inhale, bend the knee. Exhale, drawing back. One more time. Inhale, bend. Exhale, draw back and stay back for the extra breath. Then rebend your knee. Step your back foot forward, however you step to your Forward fold. Give yourself a second to maybe push your palms onto the mat, or you can just ragdoll over your legs if you prefer. Then, with your next inhale, bend the knees, sweep the arms up. Utkatasana, fierce pose. This time, left ankle over right thigh, hands down to hearts. You can stay up tall if you need to, if you can sit down a bit lower and tap the elbows onto the shin. And if you fall, welcome to life. On your inhale, lift up just enough to send that heel to the back of the room, hands by your sides, modified warrior 3. Take a breath in. Hands to the earth, use the momentum of stepping back to down dog, split your right leg, bend the knee, open the hip, take your rock star, just the tippy toe. Hits the earth, top hand reaches up and overhead. Nice full body stretch. Then inhale that arm up into the air. You're going to use the momentum of putting the hand down and take that into fallen triangle. The same leg shoots across to the left side of the mat. Left hand reaches up. Try to stick your left booty cheek up towards the ceiling. Breathe here. Exhale, top hand down. Step back. Downward facing dog. Feet hips width apart. Inhale, ripple forward to plank pose. Exhale, lower halfway down through chaturanga. Try to keep yourself only hands and feet, but if you need the knees, use them. Upward facing, roll the shoulders back. Downward facing dog. Take a deep inhale with your exhale. Widen the knees, lower them. Big toes touch. Sit back on your heels. Forehead rests to the mat. Give the forehead a little rock side to side and massage out your brow. Relax the shoulders. Let the body be heavy on the mat. Connect with 3 more breaths of a nice, easy Ujjayi pranayama. And then on your next breath in, let's come on hands and knees. Step back to plank pose, push back to downward facing dog. On your inhale, rise to tippy toes, look forward, bend the knees, pull back. Bottom of the breath, step or hop to the front of the mats. Take a halfway lift up. Exhale, release it down, really releasing down. And then don't bend the knees as you sweep your arms up and over your head into Urdhva Hastasana. Up hands pose, hands down, to your heart or by your sides. That's what I prefer, but you do you. Inhale, take your arms up and over your head. Exhale, dive it down. Full release of the head, full release of the breath. Inhale, prepare, lengthen and lift. Hands to the mat, option to hop back to chaturanga or step back to plank, lower to chaturanga. Upward facing dog, no rush here. Downward facing dog. 5 breaths. So previously, on downward facing dog, we want to make sure that we're staying connected with fingerprints and index knuckle pad. Try to spin the elbow points towards the mat. That helps free up the shoulders. Send your heart towards your feet. Send the bottom of your belly towards the thighs. You're deepening at the hip creases, tipping the tail, sit bones towards the ceiling. And lastly, driving through the heels, even if the knees must bend. But enough about that. On your inhale, prepare, look forward. Bend the knees, pull back, bottom of the breath, step, hop, or float. Take a halfway lift when you land. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, arms up, reach high. Create this gorgeous stretch from the feet to the fingertips. Exhale, hands down by your sides or by hearts. One more. Take that again. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, dive it down. Inhale, prepare. Your choice of how to get to downward facing dog. Step or hop. Take your time, especially in upward facing dog. And then downward facing dog. 5 breaths. So now that we've talked about all the technical things going on in the pose, let's just really start to focus on the path of the breath. Because your belly is gently pulled in into an Uddiyana Bandha when you breathe in, it feels like the breath is rising up through a long spine. When you breathe out, you're sending the breath back down to the root. So you're tracing the breath up and down the spine. It's kind of counterintuitive or backwards to the way that we actually breathe. But because you're using these energy locks, Uddiyana Bandha on the way in And then adding Mula Bandha on the way out. The energy seems to take a different direction. All towards the avail of lengthening your spine. On your next breath in, prepare. Look forward, bend the knees, pull back, no rush. Get your way to your half lift. Release, forward fold. Inhale, arms all the way up, reaching high. Exhale, hands down. One more round of that. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, dive it down. Inhale, lengthen, lift. Hands to the mat, your vinyasa. Your way. Down dog, 5 breaths. Let's just count it. Inhale, 1. Exhale out. 2. 3. 4. 5. Inhale, prepare, look forward. Bend the knees, pull back. Bottom of the breath. Get to the front of the mat, half lift. Release. Arms up, reach high. Hands down by your sides. Step your feet as wide as the mat, toes out, heels in. Take a squat into your malasana, knees track in the same direction of the toes. Elbows pushing the inner thighs apart. Feel the thumbs and chest connect. You're sending your heart into your thumbs, lengthening through the back of the neck. Jaw relaxed. If it serves, you can close the eyes or take a soft gaze about 4 feet out in front of you towards the floor. Just allowing the opposing energy of elbows driving out and inner thighs hugging in to create more stretch and strengthen on your inner thigh muscles. And then from here, let's just take our hands down. Spin your feet to parallel. Give yourself a little rock side to side to release any tension from the hips. And then let's bring your feet to hips width apart. So we're gonna look at crow pose, working on our arm balance in its base form. So you can rise up to your tippy toes. If you're not interested in crow, you can meet us back in downward facing dog. Knees touch by the armpits. Rocking the weight forward into the fingertips. Maybe one of your feet leaves the earth. You can replace it and switch sides. Or take both your feet up. Try to start to lengthen through the elbows once you come up. One day they will be completely straight. Take another breath in when you're ready, no rush. Hopper step back. Take a vinyasa here. And then we'll meet in downward facing dog. Take a breath in your downward facing dog. And then release, knees wide. Big toes touch, hips back on the heels. Forehead rest to the mat. If you prefer to take your hands back by your hips, palms facing up, you can let the knees or the elbows bend around the knees. If not, just take your arms out in front of you like you would traditionally do in your child's pose. Let's take 3 breaths just to reconnect with why we are here, which is transformation, a beautiful balance of empowerment and healing. Okay, let's do it. Downward facing dog. On your inhale, left leg floats, left dog splits. Draw the knee into the chest, step that foot forward in between the hands. Anchor the back heel down to 90 degrees, and then fan the arms open. Warrior 2, big wingspan, deepening into that front thigh. On your in-breath, flip the front palm, scoop the energy up and over your head as you recommit to the bend in the front knee. Feel that left side body stretch. Triangle pose, front leg opens up. Reach, reach, reach forward, and then place the hand either on the shin or on the mat. If you prefer to take your hand to the outside of the shin, that's cool too. But try to make sure that everything stacks. Hips are stacked. Shoulders are stacked. You look up towards your top thumb, even if it's only through the corner of your left eye. because we're really dialing the heart up towards that space. On your next breath in, bend the front knee, warrior two. On the in-breath, flip the front palm, reach forward, tip back, reverse. Exhale, cartwheel your hands to frame the front foot, and just let your back heel dial up. So you're in a low lunge with the back knee lifted, but we're gonna step that back foot forward about 12 inches. Heels will probably wanna be hips width apart. If you know you have a more advanced practice, you can have your heels aligned. Let's just take, with a straight front leg, a halfway lift up. Find the core here. Really feel like you could take your hands off the ground at any moment. And then exhale, release down. And we are gonna take our hands off the earth and bring them onto your hips. Now pass through that halfway lift to come all the way up to stand. Once you get there, leave the left hand on the hip, take your right arm up by your ear, palm faces across the body. Dial your chest towards the big toe of your front leg, breathe in, and then exhale, reaching forward. The hand, once again, it can be on a block if you need to. You're putting it inside or outside of the front foot. Maybe the left hand checks in with the tailbone. Make sure that your sacrum is parallel to the mat. The bottom hand is not there to take the weight. That's what the front leg is for. And then you can reach your left arm up to the sky and start to look up into your twisting triangle pose, Parivrtta Trikonasana. Breathe here. Exhale, push strongly into the legs and use the bottom hand to help you twist. Breathe, 3. Squeezing it out. 2. Last one. Lower the top hand down, rebend the knee. Take your time to frame the front foot with your hands. Re-step the back foot back, and then lower the back knee down. Toe heel the left foot over to the outer edge of the mat and bring both hands inside of that front foot. From there, left hand has the option to circle back if you want to grab onto the pinky edge of your back foot behind you. Now for me, with my front foot, I'm going to let those toes dial out to about 11 o'clock. That feels right for me, but it may not for you. See if you like it. You also have the option to lower down onto your right elbow. And then shine your beautiful heart to the ceiling directly above you. Big beam of light pouring out of the chest, Anahata, heart chakra. And just imagine what you can see. Find that feeling of wonderment in the breath, inviting creativity, imagination into your practice. Take it one more breath. Maybe that back thigh sinks a little bit deeper to enhance the quad and hip stretch. Then go ahead and release that foot down. Come back up onto palms, maybe toe heel the left foot back towards the center. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee. From here, just crawl your way over to the wide side of the mat, only way that would make sense, or else your legs will be all crazy. And then make sure that your feet are parallel, at least to the short edges of your mat. Bonus, if the big toes are slightly closer than the heels. Put your hands underneath your shoulders, take a halfway heart opening lift. And then exhale, melt it back down, forward fold. Option is stay here in Prasartha Padottanasana, or put your hands where you can see them, being very careful because people are watching and we want to make sure that they don't think we're all crazy. Maybe pushing into the hands and the head to get the legs to float if that's for you. Staying here for a few breaths in your tripod headstand with whatever variation of legs that you so choose. And let's just enjoy the fact that once we really start to embrace the balance, it becomes so much less work. It's just about finding that sweet spot where it's almost effortless, but of course we always need to stay connected. If you're up, you can just straddle the legs out way wide, and then nice and slowly putting your heels back down to the planet. Everybody, hands underneath your shoulders. Take a halfway, lengthen up and lift. And then with your exhale, crawl your way to the front of your mat. Take your time. Let's lower the back knee down, untuck the toes, and then take your arms up into your low kneeling lunge. Hands in Anjali Mudra, interlaced fingers, pointers can point. Once again, deepening into that back thigh close to the ground. The front knee might want to pass in front of the heel. That's okay. Nice. From there, just draw your hands down to heart center. Take a breath in with your exhale. Steer the right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. Then you can plant your palms at heart center, pushing palm to draw your heart towards the thumbs. If you'd like a little more here, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee. And then really energize through that trailing heel. Left shoulder pulls away from the ear. Let's go for a couple more breaths. 3, 2. See if you can really wring the right side of your belly into that left inner thigh. And then 1. Then look down. Take your hands down. Step your feet together in plank pose. Take a breath. Exhale, lower halfway down. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath in through your nose. Breathe it out the mouth. And then on your inhale, float the right leg up. Step the foot forward, try to place it in between fingertips at the front of your mat. Anchor the back heel down to 90 degrees. And then fan the arms open. Nice, powerful Virabhadrasana 2, extending long through the fingertips, softening the shoulders. Gaze over the front hand, flip that palm, reach forward, tip back. Side body stretch. This is side warrior. Take a breath here. Exhale, triangle pose. Let that front leg open up. Place the hand wherever you did on your first side, in front or behind the leg or on the shin if you need to. Now again, you're using the bottom hand to create what might feel like a twist, which has everything stacking. Shoulder on shoulder, hip on hip. Drive through the big toe mount of your front foot. Avoid collapsing into the pinky edge of that front foot. Drive through the pinky edge of your back foot. Breathe here. With your next inhale, warrior 2, front knee bends. On your inhale, flip the front palm, reach forward, tip back, reverse. Exhale, cartwheel your hands down. Frame the front foot, back heel lifts. We're gonna chug that back foot forward about a foot. Anchor the heel at 45, and again, hips width apart is probably the way to go unless you know that you've got the other. Inhale, tent the fingers, half lift, heart opens. Exhale, release it, forward fold. Hands to hips. Try to lengthen through that halfway spine, lift, and then come all the way up to the sky. Right hand stays on the hip, left hand reaches up. Dial your chest towards the big toe of your front foot, breathe here. And then exhale, get as long as you can through the body. When you hit that same halfway lift point, you lower the hand down. Check in with your tailbone. Make sure that your right hip is drawing back and tucking underneath you. Once that checks out, top hand can reach up. Maybe you start to look up, 4 breaths, inhale. Exhale, squeeze it out. 2. Really try to touch the ceiling with your fingers. 1 more time. Gently release the top hand down. Bend the front knee, step the back foot from where it came, and then lower the back knee, untuck the toes. Toe heel, the right foot over. Hands inside of the front foot, option to circle that right arm back. Grab onto the pinky edge of that back foot. If you want to dial the toes out to 2 o'clock or so, do that. And if you want to lower onto your elbow, forearm, do that. Shine your heart to the ceiling. Lay back into that heart space, soften in the breath. Let all the feel-goods feel good, right? Sometimes you gotta look for them, especially if this is feeling in any way intense. It's not a bad thing. It's just something that we need to maneuver our calm and peace through. And then from there, slowly release the back foot down. Come into your low lunge, toe heeling the right foot back in between. Back knee lifts up, nice simple, wide forward straddle over to the side of the mats. Toes in, heels slightly out perhaps, or at least your feet parallel. Take a halfway lift up, lengthen through. Exhale, melt it down. If you're interested in going deeper into the forward fold, grab hold of your ankles or your big toes, wide forward fold. If you're interested in coming upside down 1 more time, you can set your arms up the same way. Or maybe if you extend your fingertips in the opposite direction of your toes and tent the fingers, you can push into those points to get the legs to float. But if you're staying in the forward fold, that is an amazing place for you to be. If you're feeling like you want to fly today, absolutely. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should, and just because we can't doesn't mean we shouldn't try. But of course, keep yourself safe. Take another breath. If you're flying, straddle out your legs. Take full thrusters on as you lunar landing, the heels towards the mat. Everybody hands underneath shoulders, take a halfway lift. Bend from knee to knee, give yourself a nice little sensual water-like sway side to side. And then eventually let's all meet in low lunge at the front of the mat. Lower the back knee down, untuck the toes. Sweep your arms up, interlace the fingers. Once you take the clasp, if you know that you took the same clasp, switch the fingers if that feels okay for you. Then open up your chest. Drive into the back thigh, lunging a little deeper. Front knee might track over the heel. Just make sure you're evenly rooted through the big and little toe mound. From here, let's draw our hands down to heart center. Tip slightly forward, and then draw that left elbow way across the right thigh. Once you've got it hooked, use the arm against the leg, leg against the arm, to start to dial your chest towards your thumbs. If you curled your back toes under on your first side, go ahead and do it here now. And let's go. 4 more breaths. 3. Find that perpendicular relationship of your forearms and your spine. 2. Last one. Go ahead and look down. Take your hands down. Step back to plank pose, feet together, take a breath. Exhale, lower halfway down. Chaturanga Dandasana. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Take a breath here with your exhale. Rest in your child's pose or sitting upright on your shins in Vajrasana. Calm the body, breathing the slow breath. Soften in the shoulders, soften in the face. Take 2 more breaths here. And 1. All right, let's all work through our level of this next pose. Meaning, first, come onto your forearms and step your feet back to forearm plank pose. This may be as far as you go. Feel free to 5 breaths here, no further. When you get your 5 breaths, you can go back to your resting pose of choice. If you want a little more from this, then maybe you walk your feet closer to your elbows to come into your dolphin pose. And again, this is a perfect place to stay. Don't go any further than this if you're struggling. If you're not struggling and feeling underwhelmed, lift your favorite leg to the sky and maybe just rise and fall on the tippy toe of the standing foot. If you're feeling like you'd like to, and please only if you're feeling sure of yourself, maybe take a careful hop to scissor the legs up top. Taking a little hang time, taking your Pincha Mayurasana, forearm balance. Take a couple breaths to stay and play, or like I said, if you're any of the earlier stages of this, forearm plank or dolphin pose, you'll just come out and rest when you're ready. After you've hammered a couple times on the one side, you might want to give yourself a little pause before you take a look at the second leg. And if you didn't even kick a leg, but want another round of forearm balance because it's going to make you strong, you can do that, right? A lot of times we either want to do the pose or not try at all. It's the in-between stuff that really matters. That stuff that gets us there one day. I sometimes find the prep work harder to do than the actual pose, which says a lot about prep work. Once you've had your 5 or so hops or breaths, let's all once again taking the resting pose of your choice. Thank yourself for your noble attempts, for your courage, for you doing your best. Because really at the end of the day, as long as you're doing that, who cares? If yoga brings joy into your life, I'm sold. If it brings you forearm balance too, okay, that's cool. But joy, that's what it's about. Perfect. Let's come into downward facing dog. We're going to rest, but it's going to be in a different pose. So with your inhale, float your left dog, split up. And then draw that shin to the front of your mat, setting up for pigeon pose. If you need a block here, you can slide it up underneath your left hip. If this pose is no good for you and you need to flip on your back, that's okay too. Sliding the back foot way back, walk your hands back by your hips. Peel your chest wide open to the sky. And then when you're ready to, start to melt yourself forward. Forehead taps to the earth. Arms can stretch out in front of you. If you need to stay up on your elbows, that's okay, or make a pillow for the forehead with the hands. On your in-breath, put a little gentle pressure into the top of your back foot. See if you can reach your upper body a little further forward, crawling your way to the front of the mat, but you can't go any further because your foot's stuck, so you get longer, which is great. Taking about 5 breaths here in our prone variation of our pigeon pose. Now, if this is causing you any pain in the left knee, back away a little bit, or a lot of it if it's a lot of pain. But if you're feeling it in the hip, if you're feeling it where the butt meets the leg, that's all good, and that's actually why we are here. Two more. Take your time, walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee. Send your left leg high up and back. Dog split, bend that knee, open the hip. If you want to take another rock star here, feel free to take that. If on the off chance you fancy turning your rock star into your wheel pose, as long as it's something you can do somewhat effortless, feel free. When you feel like you've had enough, let's meet back in downward facing dog. Coming out's always the tricky part. If you came in a wheel, see if you can send that left leg back into dog split. And then if you want a vinyasa here, take one. If not, leave it alone. Meet us in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog. Beautiful. We've got another one of those, so let's do our right dog split. Draw the shin forward, place it behind the wrists. Once it lands, by sliding the back foot further back, you get to open up your hips. Take your adjustments that you need to. If you need them, walk your hands back. And that's really lengthen through that front side body, anterior chain. With your exhale, let yourself melt forward. Whatever variation you may have taken on the hands, feel free to match that to your first side. Notice how this probably feels different than the first side. A lot of us will find it's easier. And that's as normal as you being able to write better with one hand, or the fact that you chew in the same direction every single day of your life, unless you try to chew the other way. And that usually winds up having you choke or something terrible like that. We're not as coordinated as we pretend to be. Let's go for 3 more breaths here. Every time you exhale, you're getting longer onto the mat. Every time you inhale, you're widening out onto the mat. Slow and steady. Hands make their way back underneath your shoulders. Curl the back toes, lift the back knee. Try to lift the right leg up and then eventually send it back. Bending that knee, opening the hip. You want to flip the dog, flip it now. If you're taking that into full wheel pose, you got to put both heels onto the mat. You start to pivot on the wrist of that left hand to eventually let that right hand drop over your head. Take an inhale, stay. When you're ready to, try to reverse the order. Flipping your dog back around, right dog split. Lower the leg, down dog, or take your vinyasa now. And then meeting in downward facing dog. Cool, cool, cool. With your next breath in, come forward to plank pose. Lower onto hands and knees, cross your ankles. Have yourself a seat. You can swim your legs off to one side if you prefer. Long legs out in front of you. We're setting up for our Western facing pose, Paschimottanasana. However, I'm facing south, y'all are facing north. It's gonna have to do. So peel the extra meat out from underneath your seat by walking your heels forward. And then take your arms up. Take a breath in, look up. Heart stays open. As you descend over the legs, feel free to grab onto the outer blades of your feet with your hands. Pull the belly in really deep and tight so that you can surrender the upper body over the thighs. With your inhale, try to touch your big toenails with the crown of your head. With your exhale, melt down a little deeper. Push the backs of your legs into the mat. Firm up your thighs. If you need to keep a bend in the knees, please do. And although your arms are helping with the stretch, don't let them do the work of the core. Take one more. And then slowly come on up. Plant your hands by your hips. Scoot yourself forward. Roll down onto your back. Articulate through the sacrum, through the lower back, mid-back, upper back. Go ahead and draw your knees into the chest. Give them a squeeze. So let's go ahead and cross the right thigh over the left thigh. We're going to try to take the eagle wrap here, so if you can, wrap your right foot around your left ankle as well. Do that. If not, just the crossing the thighs is plenty. And then reestablishing that knee over the hip. Take a breath in with your exhale. Twist across to your left. Letting that right knee draw across your body. For me, I'm going to scooch over to the left because it's going to keep my heart right over that right hip. And then looking in the opposite direction that your knees are twisting. Let the fact that your legs are wrapped up to really just create extra weight for this twist. Pulling on the lower back a little bit, pulling on the external hip rotators a lot of bit. You'll feel it in the glutes as well. Long exhales out. Pull the belly in tight. Use the breath to get you back to the middle. Maybe squeezing the knees in. Just open up the tailbone. And then we'll take the opposite cross. So it's left over right. If you can get the extra wrap of the foot around the calf. And then drawing that knee up over your pelvis. Draw the knee across to the right. You might want to scoot the shoulders to the right as well, so that the twist becomes more effortless. Breathe in big. Exhale out long. Every time you breathe out, you're wringing out your spine. You're wringing out toxins, increasing your metabolism, digestion, and warding off sickness and disease. Coronavirus. Excellent. Make your way back to the middle. Tailbone to the ground. You can put your feet on the ground with bent knees. Let's lift the hips up. If you're going to come into bridge pose, then go ahead and interlace the hands underneath you, walking the elbows and shoulders underneath you. Some of us were already in wheel pose, so if you want to come into actually Urdhva Dhanurasana, your bow pose facing up, you can do that. And whether it's the bow or whether it's the wheel, if you want to float a leg towards the sky, give it a go. You can do it in bridge pose too. Give yourself a breath or two to hang with that. And then nice and easy, simply switching legs, committing to firing the heel towards the ceiling, lots of energy through that leg. And then when you're ready, bring both your feet to the mat. Take the slow roll down, chin to the chest, articulating, get your hands out of your way if you were in your bridge pose. From there, let's take a happy baby. Give yourself a gentle rock side to side, just like we began. So if you're not interested in coming into shoulder stand, you can just bring the bottoms of your feet together, lay the pinky edges of your feet onto the mat with your knees open wide, Supta Baddha Konasana. If you're interested in shoulder stand, maybe tent the hands by your sides, lift your hips over the heart to bring the knees towards the forehead, moving the hands onto the lower back, and then walking your elbows a bit closer in towards one another. Once you feel the support of your hands, keeping your hips over your heart, one leg at a time or both legs together, all the way up into Salamba Saravangasana, supported shoulder stand. If you know other arm or leg variations, of course you can take them. If you do an eagle wrap, you could do that. If you do the unsupported variation, sliding your palms up your thighs, feel free. And if you're going to keep it traditional, that's great too. Let's go 4 more breaths here. Focusing on the exhale and really getting the hips over the heart so that we stretch out the back of the neck. From here, you can slowly take the toes all the way up and over your head, coming into a full plow pose. If that's too much, feel free to bend the knees and place them on the forehead like we started. Give yourself a moment to try to push the heels up and over your head, drawing the chin away from the chest, and maybe then you can walk the feet a little further to really capitalize on that cervical neck stretch. From there, you can widen your knees around the ears, maybe grab for your heels, and just see about pushing your shins towards the mat. In Kanapirasana. I would not recommend trying to have a conversation like this. Very tricky. Focus on your exhale to create that compression. And then when you're ready, take a slow roll down, all the way down onto your spine. Legs can go long out in front of you. Take any adjustments you would like to take before entering into your final Savasana. There is a few more minutes if there's 1 or 2 things that you'd like to do, like take a fish pose or a headstand. Do something that's going to keep you or allow you to stay connected with the peaceful side of yourself, nothing particularly too fiery. And without further ado, you don't need any more cues from me. If you're ready to come into your Savasana, then do that. Just let your body be heavy wherever you're at. Breath by breath, you're dropping into a deeper state of relaxation. Sometimes working with that word, we know what it means, so it takes on a vibrational meaning too. When you exhale the air out, think of yourself relax. The teeth are relaxed. The jaw. Eyes dropping deeply into their sockets. Notice the quality of your toes, the quality of your fingers melting off. Imagine even the skin on your body is starting to melt away. next inhale, take it nice, deep and full. Breathe out the mouth. Start to move a little, stretch a little, anything that intuitively feels right to bring you back into a mindful state of movement. When you're ready to, draw your knees up into your person, give yourself a big squish and a squeeze. You can roll to the right if you'd like to go out with a more lunar energy, left if you'd like to go out with a more solar energy, undecided, rock straight up through the middle, because we're meeting up in the seat, Sukhasana. Simple cross-legged position. We're not going to be here long, but if you feel the need to slide a block up underneath your tail feather, you can. We'll close the practice off with 3 ohms. You can bring your palms together. Thumbs connect with the sternum. Take a breath in. Thumbs to the space in between your eyebrows, the third eye, Ajna chakra, place of intuition. We bow recognizing our divine. Namaste. You all right there? Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much for your hard work and practice. Ask me questions if you have any, and I will see you soon.